this program called as Bhagavad Life, which we have been doing for close to a year, probably, or more than that. And the idea of this program is Hare Krishna. What happened? Started? Not showing any message here. The idea of this program is every week we try to cover one chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam. We haven't had our sessions on Friday morning for a while. We all were busy with Srila Prabhupada Book Marathon services, and this week we're trying to resume it. Because we're meeting after a while, I just want to give a quick background of the discussion that is happening. We're going to read today from third canto, chapter number 16. Last time when we met, we did had a brief discussion, but just to let you know what's going on here, this discussion about what we're reading here now began from actually chapter number 13, the appearance of Lord Varahadev, like this. And this discussion continues up to 16, 17, 18 chapters. What started from the 13th chapter goes up to 18th chapter. It began with the discussion of the appearance of Varahadev, and then why did Varahadev kill Hiranyaksh? Who was Hiranyaksh? That discussion began in the previous chapter. And then the speaker is talking about the past life. In fact, Brahmaji's conversation has been quoted because Devatas went to Brahmaji saying that that Diti's son, who was not even born, has created such a havoc all over the universe, has created such a, I believe, the heat that we all are burning. That was a detail over there. It's okay, that's okay. This is another ID. Prabhu, why don't we just close the other IDs up, which are not active? We can just disable them. What was I saying? So, like this, the discussion began, and then Brahmaji began to answer the Devatas, who was this child in the womb of Diti, how he became so powerful even before taking birth. And that's where the story of four Kumaras going to Vaikuntha and then giving curse to Jay and Vijay. That discussion has been going on. Now we are on the 16th chapter, where Jay and Vijay have been cursed in the previous chapter, 15th chapter. The four Kumaras realizes that they have done a mistake. They shouldn't have become so angry. And we discussed last time about it. There are a lot of contradictions in this chapter, in the storyline. First is four Kumaras of Brahmavadis. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. How did they become angry? Above all, Jay and Vijay stopped for Kumaras. What is the need of gatekeepers at Vaikuntha when there is no question of enemy existing in Vaikuntha, or no ordinary, or even a best of the yogis or mystics cannot enter Vaikuntha? So why do you need doorkeeper like this? Even if there are doorkeepers, why would Jay and Vijay? I mean, if you're a Vaikuntha Vasi resident, what is our understanding is you know everything. So they could understand who are these four Kumaras. How would they not know who are these personalities who have entered? And why did they frown at four Kumaras? Why did they raise their eyebrows and with the angry voice said, how dare you enter? This is not the place for child's play. You know, they were like child, small kids like this. But there were a couple of this kind of contradictory things that occurs in this pastime. And then chapter 16 begins with Vishnu appears at the scene along with his entourage, Mother Lakshmi, etc., all the devotees. And then he began to glorify the Brahmanas, four Kumaras, to pacify them. And this discussion goes until the 16th verse. And that is what we read last time. To summarize, in this set of verses, which we have covered last time, Vishnuji says that, you know, Brahmanas are the best. My powers, I derive my strength also by worshipping Brahmanas. Like that, he glorifies, Lord Vishnu glorifies Brahmanas like anything. And four Kumaras are thinking, how many of you have had an experience when you're being glorified and when you know that it is not a truth, you become doubtful about the intention of the person who is glorifying you? क्यों इतना फेंक रहा है? इतना भी अच्छा नहीं हूं मैं. Why am I being glorified again and again like that? And four Kumaras were wondering, what happened? Why Vishnu is saying like this? We are dependent on Vishnu, and Vishnu is saying he's dependent on us. Vishnu is saying, I eat through the mouth of Brahmanas, I depend entirely on Brahmanas. Without Brahmanas, there is no existence of mine. I get all my powers from Brahmanas. And Brahmanas is thinking, This is going too much actually. Is Lord really serious? Is Lord upset? So Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti writes, Lord uses a lot of sarcasm. Actually, Lord was very much displeased with the four Kumaras. And through that sarcastic speech, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti writes, he was showing his deep affection for Jai and Vijay. That was the whole storyline until now. Now, text number 16 onwards, four Kumaras begin to speak. So just to summarize this whole pastime, and then we'll go through the verses, the storyline continues. So a couple of things are happening here. We'll come to the conclusion of why these contradictions occurred. Contradictions like even if you go to Vrindavan pastimes, the famous Damodar Lila that occurred in Kartik month, it's a contradiction in itself that Mother Yashoda, a simple cowherd lady, can chase after the Supreme Personality of Godhead, chastise him, frighten him with a stick in her hand, and then bind him. Him means the Supreme Personality of Godhead to a mortal. Isn't it contradictory? So why contradictory? Because it's just not possible the way the Lord was treated. But if the Lord wants it, then it can all happen. So that's the point. Similarly, here, the background story of this whole pastime of four Kumaras getting angry, or prior to that, Jai Vijay becoming angry and four Kumaras getting angry in return, and then they cursing Jai Vijay, how can you find duality in this world of Vaikuntha? You're thinking we are enemies of Vishnu's. You think like this because you are the one. You're the enemies. You don't represent the mood of Lord Vishnu like this. And Pokemon really got angry. And that particular purport in the last chapter, when this subject matter is discussed, Srila Prabhupada right. Why did Pokemon got angry? Anyone remembers? I know it's a long, long ago discussion. Why did Pokemon got angry? Prabhupada gives an explanation. Although they were Brahmavadis, Prabhupada gives a whole explanation about how anger cannot be given up. In fact, devotees also sometimes become angry. What was the idea behind it? Because it interrupted their service to the Lord. They were hankering, they were longing to see the Lord. And when that was interrupted, therefore they became angry. It was not for sanctification, it was in the service of the Lord. Anyways, that's the whole thing. And now, verse number 16, now we'll move. Okay, I was just giving the summary of it. So, this whole pastime for a sadhakas, whenever Lord's direct interaction happens with his devotees, there is a rasa involved, which is meant to be relished and understood in that way. And at times there are lessons for sadhakas. What would be a lesson for a sadhaka for us on this particular pastime, wherein four Kumaras were made upset by Jai and Vijay, and return four Kumaras cursed Jai Vijay. As a result of it, Jai Vijay had to come to this earth, take birth three times as a demon, and four Kumaras also repented because the Lord was not pleased by the action of four Kumaras. So, what can a sadhaka learn from this whole storyline? Yes.
Prabhuji, first thing is like four Kumaras.
Just tell me the lesson. One word lesson. What is the lesson you learned?
We should not uh, dictate or curse someone if we don't have.
Okay. Dictate or curse someone. Anything else? Yes.
We should not be egoistic.
You should not be egoistic. What else? What is the lesson? Main lesson. So much I discussed this last time. That's why I'm doing a quick recap here. Be careful of Vaishnava Prad. That's all. Long story short. Be careful of Vaishnava Prad. Because that really upsets the Lord. That's what happened. Lord was not pleased by the action of four Kumaras. Now, in terms of rasa, in terms of relishing the pastime, what is happening here is Lord will reveal ahead in the chapter himself. Lord will talk to Jai and Vijay. He would say that although I can, just what do you say, evaporate the curse, nullify the curse, not evaporate, nullify the curse, but I will still not do it. And the Lord said, because you are ordained to undergo this punishment, because at one point of time you have stopped Mother Lakshmi from entering, and she became upset. Well, that's also not the actual reason. The actual reason the Lord finally reveals, you know what? It's been a long time since I had a combat. So I want you both only to go. So you go, become a demon, I'll come and fight with you, and we'll have a combat. So this is another level of understanding. This is the rasa side. This is the actual reason why it's happening. But for a lesson for sadhaka is, as far as we are concerned, what we can derive a lesson for us is be careful of Vaishnava Aparadha. Now let's take a look at the storyline here. Text number 16. Rishaya Uchuhu. We can share the verses, please. Navayam Bhagavan Vidvam Tavadeva Chikrshatam Pratome Anugrahascheti Yad Adhyakshaha Prabhashase. So this verse talks about rishis speaking now, and they're confused. The sages said, "O Supreme Personality of Godhead, Bhagavan Vidvams, we are unable to know what you intend for us to do. For even though you are the supreme ruler of all, you speak in our favor, as if we had done something good for you. We are glorifying us." So, like this. Text number. So the way the Lord glorified was as if the Lord is actually asking for forgiveness on behalf of his doorkeepers. Lord said, the mistake by a servant is a mistake by a master. So therefore, I take the full responsibility before this previous verse is concluded. So Pokemon is thinking how Lord can ask for forgiveness, but his speech indicated, and that's the reason of the confusion. Text number 17, we'll recite together, okay? ब्रह्मणस्य परं दैवं ब्राह्मणाखिलत् प्रभु विप्राणां देवदेवानां भगवानात्मदैवतम्. Are you setting an example? Is this behavior is about setting an example? Brahmana Kilate Prabhu. Oh Lord, you're the supreme director of the Brahmanical culture. You're considering the Brahmanas to be in the highest position as your example for teaching others. Actually, you are the supreme Vishwaditi and not only for the God, but for the Brahmanas also. So, are you teaching an example that Brahmanas are the best and they should not be offended? Is that what your intention is? Tataha sanatano dharma rakshate tanubhistava dharmasya paramo guyo nirvikaro bhavan. You are the source of eternal occupation of all living entities, and by your multi manifestations of personalities, Godhead, you have always protected religion. You are the supreme objective of religious principles, and in our opinion, you are inexhaustible and unchangeable eternally. Like this, there actually Vishnu Chakra Thakur does a beautiful analysis of how Gokumaras begin to speak and they're literally countering all the praises which were given by Lord Vishnu to the Brahmanas. Say, no, no, no. You're not dependent on us. We Brahmanas and our culture is dependent on you. Like there's a whole incident. We'll not have time for that much, but a little bit of information. Text number 19. Taranti samrityam devratayat anugrahat yogina sabhavankyam swit anubhetayat pare. Mistakes and transcendentalists, by the mercy of the Lord, cross beyond these signs by seizing all material desires. It is not possible, therefore, that the Supreme Lord can be favored by others. You're saying that you are favored by us? No, no, no. We are dependent on you. Even the best of the translators, they cross beyond the signs by your mercy. Text number 20. The goddess of fortune, not only us, even the goddess of fortune awaits a favor from you. Prabhupada writes in the purport. As the king of bees hover over the tulsi leaves offered to the lotus feet of the Lord, so Lakshmi, the goddess, was sought by the demigods, Brahmanas, Vaishnavas, and everyone else always engaged in rendering service to the lotus feet of the Lord. Conclusion is no one can be the benefactor of the Lord. Everyone is actually the servant of the Lord. Text number 21. However, you are exclusively, everyone is attached to you, but you are exclusively attached to your pure devotees. Text number 21. O Lord, you are exceedingly attached to the activities of your pure devotees, yet you are never attached to the goodness of fortune, goddesses of fortune, who constantly engage in your transcendental loving service. How can you be purified? Therefore, by the dust of the path traversed by the Brahmanas, and how can you be glorified or made fortunate by the marks of Shiva on your chest? Like this, again, they're countering all the praises. Purpose writes in the purport. The goddess of fortune, Lakshmi, is sometimes envious of the tulsi leaves which are placed at the lotus feet of the Lord, for they remain fixed there and do not move. Whereas Lakshmi, although stationed by the chest of the Lord, sometimes has to please other devotees who pray for her favor. Lakshmi ji sometimes has to go to satisfy her numerous devotees, but Tulsi never forsake their position And the Lord therefore appreciates the service of Tulsi more than the service of Lakshmi. The last statement, that is opulence is due to the benediction of the Brahmanas and Vaishnavas, last line, is only to teach others that they should offer respect to the Brahmanas and Vaishnavas. You are Tri Yuga. O Lord, you are the personification of all religion. Therefore, you manifest yourself in 3 millenniums, 3 yugi. And thus you protect the universe, which consists of animate and inanimate beings. By your grace, which is of pure goodness and is the bestower of all blessings, kindly drive away the elements of Rajas and Tamas for the sake of the demigods and twice born. Three Yuga. But we hear Lord appears in the Kali Yuga also. Why Three Yuga? Lord in scriptures often called as Three Yugi. Upadma writes that in the first paragraph of the purport. He is not mentioned as appearing in the 4th millennium or Kali Yuga. It is described in Vedic literature that in Kali Yuga he comes as Channa Avatar. He does not appear as a manifest incarnation. In other yugas, how the Lord is a manifest incarnation. Therefore, his address as Three Yuga, like this. And then there is an explanation by Sridhar Swami only. Also, you can read it for yourself. Text number 23. And then this verse also talks about, 22 talks about, and by your grace, the influence, the contamination, the pollution of Rajas and Tamas can be driven away. So kindly, you are the protector of the Brahmanas. Text number 23. Your behavior is for setting an example how Brahmanas should be treated. O Lord, you are the protector of the highest of the twice born. If you do not protect them by offering worship in mild words, then certainly the auspicious path of worship will be rejected by our people in general, who act on the strength and authority of your Lordship. So if you see, look at the statements, why Vishnu Chakravarti is saying, poor Kumaras are confused. They couldn't capture the sarcasm of Lord Krishna's or Lord Vishnu's speech, and they were confused. Was Lord actually upset with them or not? So therefore, they're simply defending the Lord's position to be the highest, and how Lord, whatever you have spoken that just indirectly to teach Jai and Vijay how Brahmanas should be treated. Jai and Vijay, you should not have treated Brahmanas like this. Brahmanas are the best, they should always be respected. Like that. So, in other words, Pokumaras are thinking that by our action, Lord is actually pleased, not displeased. But in a short while, they will understand, although the Lord spoke so nicely, yet their heart was not content. Here comes a very beautiful point. Vishnu Chakravarti and Prabhupada also writes in the purport, Lord personally came and spoke to the four Kumaras. Yet their heart was not satisfied. And why their heart was not satisfied? It was only because of the traces of Vaishnava aparadha. Similarly, in our practice of bhakti, ideally we should be happy. Now, if you're following 4 regular principles, chanting holy names, taking darshan of the Lord every day, reading and hearing, how you can not be happy? Yes or no? I mean, what is that shloka again? Nectar of devotion. It talks about what is it? What's the first word? I just skipped my head. The practice of bhakti awards the 6 stages. All inauspiciousness is driven away. Kleshagni Shubhadha. So auspiciousness arises, Kleshagni, all kind of suffering subsides. So why wouldn't we devotees be happy if you're chanting, if you're following 4 regular principles, if you're taking darshan of the deities? I said this example before also. I remember we are having our first Rath Yatra festival in Columbus, Ohio. It was a big, big event. That finally we are able to have Rath Yatra festival. We got our permission, and devotees are really excited. Mother Malati, who was serving as a GBC, I don't know, maybe she's GBC now also. So she came to speak to all the devotees. And the very first time she said, after coming up and taking a dais, dear devotees, this is for the first time in the history of Ohio or Columbus, we are going out on the streets. It's first time Rath Yatra festival would happen here. So I have a request to all of you. And I was with my attentive ears. I'm like, yes, ma'am. Yes, mother. What do you want to say? Kindly have a smile on your face. Don't go with this morose looking faces. And I was just thinking, yeah, why did she ask like I mean somebody says like this, some leader says like this, and they're pretty smart, sensing. So which means devotees are not having the smile. Sometimes we do things because we feel it's an obligation, we have to do it as a matter of duty. But why aren't we happy? That's where the ego comes into picture. Ego creates a lot of tussle, a lot of tussle. So, and that whole ego battle or ego issue leads to relationship crisis. Just imagine you're having a kirtan, you're having a roaring kirtan, and devotees are holding hands of each other. I saw this, and even I had an experience of it. I'm upset with somebody because somebody said to me something like this, and suddenly, Paramatma will inspire the devotee who is leading a kirtan. He'll suddenly enter in the middle of the kirtan, and he's singing, and he'll suddenly pull you, and the next person he will pull that person only for whom you're upset. And he'll say, okay, dance. And you're like, no, 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 mujhe nahi naachna. And no, you dance. And it's like a chakravyuh, you're stuck in the circle. You can't run away also. And imagine it, all in that, if it is a sannyasi, it was a very senior devotee. If somebody does like this. I remember it happened once in Chicago. Two devotees had, you know, a little conflict, ego battle or whatever you want to call it. At the end of the day, it's an ego battle only. Therefore, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, string this verse around your neck, Tana, the piece in each chain. So it takes a while, that's okay. And these devotees hadn't talked to each other for a long, long time. I believe Chandramani Swami Maharaj or somebody, he was not singing. Chandramani Swami Maharaj, his own as Chandramani Swami Maharaj was dancing. Somebody else was doing Kirtan. Maharaj came in between and he was dancing, rolling all over the place. And suddenly he went like this, "Sup," and he went like this, "Zup." He brought them together. And they're like, no, no, no. And everyone in the group knew they don't talk to each other. And Maharaj got them together, made them dance like this. Now something very interesting happened. Those two devotees, when had spoken to each other for such a long time, just dancing in the kirtan, all their animosity or all their dislike towards each other evaporated. This was their realization on the next day when they told us. Something happened. So His Holiness Trivikrama Swami, right? Who's in Florida. Maybe I'm missing the name. So once he made a point. He said dancing in the kirtan is so powerful, so powerful. Even if someone you have a little dislike, or whatever, different personalities, it happens because of different modes. But if you come together and dance together, all that dislike or all that whatever little hitch we have in our relationship, it all goes away. Kirtan is so powerful like that. Anyways, I don't know why did I came to that subject matter. Yeah, they didn't felt satisfaction at their heart despite Vishnu speaking to them directly. They couldn't really relish the sweetness of the Lord's words. The Lord's words, it was because of their Vaishnava aparad like this. Similarly, in our life, I was making a point, despite having the best culture, the best people around, sometimes you really don't value the people that we have around us, trust me. You should go out and meet people, then you'll value what people we have. And I've been going to this MB college. Yesterday afternoon only I was thinking, uh, you know, we have been having programs. People have become so impersonal, so insensitive. Imagine somebody is coming to your college, somebody is teaching to you for a while and whatnot, and then you meet that person after some time. They just look at you as if you don't exist only, which means they entirely overlook at you. I had an experience once at Symbiosis. A Gita Jayanti festival. After finishing the Gita Jayanti festival, Bharati Pasha, some students were walking outside, so she brought them inside and she told them, you can have dinner. And then she indicated to me that, Prabhu, your students are here. I said, which student? Your MBA students. I looked at them. They were just looking like this. I said, Hare Krishna. No response. And I just wondering, I said, No wonder why these teachers are so upset with their students. I meet with the MBA faculty now, they just don't like the students only. They say these people are rascals. And then I went to this DY Patil also. I'm not saying everyone is like this. You know, the majority of the mood has become like this. They're just in their own world. They just don't. There is no sense of gratitude, appreciation. I don't know what has gone wrong. And I imagine we come in a Vaishnava association. How much ever we may have a difference of personality, different modes acting on us, yet we greet with each other, we smile at each other. That's the least we should do. When you see a devotee after a while, you feel like, oh, you're here, so happy to see you. Nothing like that. So it's good to go out and a little bit see what's the world. So our appreciation here will develop for the community or the devotees that we live around with. So that's the point. Oh, Mother Dipashi is online. Okay, I didn't know you're online. Okay, okay. She has probably far greater experience than I have. And I sensed in her dealing why she was a little apathetic or not too much concern because she knew these people don't deserve that concern like that. So, anyways, so Vaishnava Aprad, because of that, Pokumaras couldn't experience the joy of the Lord's speech. So, coming to the point again, why a devotee, despite having the best culture, best association, we are chanting the most powerful mantra. So many times people ask, why do we chant Hare Krishna mantra? Why not Om Namah Shivaya? Why not Krishnaya Vasudeva, etc., etc.? I say this is the mantra which has no rules and regulations, no purity, no pronunciation, no qualification required. Everyone can chant. Even Chinese can chant Hale Lama, Hale Lama, Lama Lama Hare. That is also counted. So easy. Everything is best. And what to speak of prasadam? If everything is provided, of course, maybe a little bit oily sometimes, but still we have variety of prasadam. Why would somebody still have morose face? Why would that's the thing. Lack of satisfaction. And lack of satisfaction, same thing for Kumar said. They had a direct experience of the Lord. The Lord was standing in front of them. The Lord spoke to four Kumaras. They didn't feel joy in their heart. They didn't feel joy in their heart. Why? Because they had offended a Vaishnava. Offense. And as a sadhaka, we struggle a lot with that. It takes a while for us to understand this. And really, therefore, Srila Rupa Goswami, knowing that our background, he said, Ussaha, Nishya, you got to tolerate yourself. You got to tolerate yourself. Otherwise, you will not survive. You say, अरे क्या है? भक्ति में आके भी कुछ नहीं हूँ मैं. मैंने IT जॉब भी छोड़ दी है. सब कुछ छोड़ दिया. ब्रह्मचारी जीवन में भी आके खुश नहीं हूँ. कहाँ खुश रहूंगा? प्रभु आप कहीं खुश नहीं रह सकते. क्योंकि आपका दिमाग आपको खाने में लगा हुआ है. That's the point. That's the point. And it's just a struggle that we all have to go through. We just have to go through with it. Go through with it. I have gone through. I've had my own share of experiences. All of us go through with that. That's the point here. I just want to make this. I'll come back to your final questions. I want to finish the chapter because there are other chapters to also take. Okay, we will be 24th verse. Dear Lord, you never want the auspicious path to be destroyed, for you are the reservoir of all goodness. Just to benefit people in general, you destroy the evil element by your mighty potency. You are the proprietor of the three creations and the maintainer of the entire universe. Therefore, your potency is not reduced by your submissive behavior. Rather, by submission, you exhibit your transcendental pastime like this. So, very beautiful point, huh? You taking a humble position does not reduce your glory. In fact, again, going back to that, humility is an ornament for a devotee. Just like I was making a point of the day, Sharanagati does not necessarily translate to surrender. There's not an appropriate word in English to define Sharanagati. Similarly, the quality which is described in Trina, the Visanichena, I would say the humility is probably not the best definition for that. Just like submission or surrender is generally in a context of either you're obliged or you're forced or you're fearful. That's the reason you become submissive or you surrender or you serve. Yes or no? But Sharanagati is based The principle of Sharanagati is based on love and affection, not obligation, not forced, not out of fear. Similarly, this humility, the quality of humility which is described in our scriptures, which Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is saying, is that, just like it is mentioned here, Prabhupada says the first few lines of the purport, Lord Krishna was never reduced in his position by becoming a coward, or by offering respect to Sudama Brahmana, or his other devotees like Nanda Maharaj, Vasudev Maharaj, Yudhishthira, and the Pandavas, Mother Kunti. Everyone knew that he was the Supreme Personality of God, Krishna, yet his behavior was exemplary. In fact, you become far much more glorious by your humble disposition. That humility is actually very, very attractive. Knowing the fact, just imagine, I remember reading the first canto long ago. In fact, I had this question that I even went to my spiritual master to ask him, and however Maharaj didn't answer my question. That's a different thing. He can come later. We were walking on a beach at Hawaii. He was alone, so I went there. Anyways, so the question was, I said, Krishna, I was thinking Krishna is the Supreme Personality Godhead. Everyone offers obeisances. Why would he offer obeisances to Yudhishthira? I mean, now you may not have this question, but is it a question or not? For a beginner, this is a good enough question. Why would Krishna have to do it? Because generally our mindset is, I am great. Everyone surrender to me. I should not surrender to me. That's a neophyte tendency, but that's not what the idea of Lord Shri Krishna, Yudhishthira will, it was same Yudhishthira who established Krishna to be the Supreme Personality God at Rajasuya Yajna. However, despite the fact, when it's not that Krishna was doubtful, maybe Yudhishthira को पता नहीं मैं भगवान हूँ, कोई बात नहीं मैं etiquette follow करता हूँ. Yet, with a public announcement, declaration Krishna the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whenever Krishna will meet Yudhishthira Maharaj, he will offer obeisances. So humility. So that's the point is mentioned here. They're saying, why, dear Lord, your potency is not reduced by exhibiting your submissive behavior. Lord Glorious does not go down or does not become less if he offers his respect, to Maharaj Yudhishthira and Maharaj, etc., like that. Text number 25. O Lord, whatever punishment you wish to award these two innocent persons, or also to us, we shall accept without duplicity. We understand that we have cursed two faultless persons. They understood that they have made a mistake. Prabhupada writes in the purport. The sages of 4 Kumaras now reject the cursing of the two doorkeepers, Jai and Vijay, because they are now conscious that persons who engage in the service of Lord cannot be at fault at any stage. It is said that anyone who has implicit faith in the service of the Lord, who actually engages in transcendental loving service, has all the good qualities of the demigods. Therefore, a devotee cannot be at fault. Sometimes it is found that he is in error by accident or by some temporary arrangement that should not be taken very seriously. Where do we find a reference to it? No, that says apiche suduracharo. वो तो बहुत severe है. No. Fine. It is said, it is found that he is in error by accident or by some temporary arrangement that should not be taken very seriously. Fine, that reference is good. What else? Where does the reference comes? Directly like this. That reference is Krishna forgives. Where's the reference that we should not look? We should overlook. अरे इतना सिखाया, इतना पढ़ाया, इतनी क्लास ली, हाल ही में बोला, फिर भी भूल गए. उपदेशामृत, text number 6, दृष्टे स्वभाव जनितिर वपुचस्त दोषे. Drishta, Swabhava, Vapu, Drishte Swabhava, what you see in the Swabhava and Sharir, Vapu, should be overlooked. That's the point. That's the most important verse you want to really remember, memorize it. It's very important for us in our Vaishnava dealings. Otherwise, we're going to go back and keep committing Vaishnava Prad. We'll have no ability to tolerate otherwise. If sometimes it is found that it is an error by accident or by some temporary arrangement, that should not be taken very seriously. The cursing of Jai and Vijay here is repentant. Now the Kumaras are thinking in terms of their position in modes of Rajas and Tamam. And they're prepared to accept any kind of punishment from the Lord. Prabhupada writes, in general, when dealing with devotees, we should not try to find faults. In Bhagavad Gita, it is confirmed that devotees who faithfully serve the Supreme Lord, even if found to commit a gross mistake, such as Sudhacharo, should be considered a sadhu, a saintly person. Due to former habits, he may commit some wrong, but because he's engaged in service of the Lord, that wrong should not be taken very seriously. What do you understand by this? What do you understand by this? Would anyone like to give a purport to this? What does it mean? If we can have a proper understanding of this, we can really live a peaceful life.
When we are in the body, this body has some conditions.
That's okay. That's what we discussed about in the mantra 6. Fine. Point is, it is said if you see a devotee who was, let's say, until yesterday was doing his devotion life properly, but last evening you saw him smoking on the corner of the street. Bidi Bhukti, suddenly, standing with some friends, maybe let's say a college student who had been practicing spiritual life for the last 3 years, living with you in the center, was on center, and suddenly you see one fine day smoking. Now he is there with you in the morning program, sitting right next to you. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. How many of you gonna smell the smoke? How many of you gonna smell it? How many of you gonna say, "You rascal, what did you do last evening? And what are you doing now here?" You know, how many of us? Yes or no? It's very difficult, very difficult. Very difficult, very difficult. And the devotee, comes and tells you, Prabhu, chalo, let's read Bhagavatam together. How you gonna? So how do you deal with devotees?
One example, Vrindavan, I think Vrindavan was being that
No, example नहीं, मुझे philosophy बताओ ये.
we are in the shower of the
Correct. So devotees are taking bath, and that will go away. What is philosophical point here? That's okay. That's an example. What does Acharya say?
you first I'd ask
No.
you.
Therefore, I have been repeating the most important and vital book for a sadhaka is Upadeshamrita. Text number 5. Krishneti yasya giritam manasadriyeta dishasichit pranitibhischa bhajantam isham shushrushya bhajana vijnana ananyamanya nindadishunya hridam ipsita sanghalam. So for such a fellow who you see might be violating something, you respect him from a distance. You don't have to disturb your chanting, thinking that what is he doing sitting and chanting here? What do you got to do with it? I mean, it's between him, and Guru, and Krishna. Yes, I'm not saying you ignore the fact that happened. You go and bring that in the notice attention to the leader, or the counselor, or the mentor. So, or Mataji, this is what we saw this for FI. Mind your own business. Our problem now, we are not content with our own business. अपना जीवन आगे बढ़ता ही नहीं जब तक हम दूसरों 10 लोगों के जीवन में उंगली ना डालें. We cannot be satisfied with our own life. We have to be all over the place. And we have to be giving advices. We have to be telling others what you should do, what you should not do. Until then, we don't become happy. It is said, Krishna iti yasya giritam manasadriyata. One who chants the holy name of the Lord, but he is not able to follow regular principles. He is in the 3 stages of Kanishta were described. Then you just offer obeisance from distance. Don't associate. He comes to you, let's read Bhagavatam. You can say, Prabhu, I'm busy right now. Why don't you go and read Bhagavatam with your mentor? And you can also tell your evening pastime also, what do you do in the evening to your mentor. I have other things to do. That's it. It's now that, see, 2 things. Okay, let me make this point. Okay, Abhishek would not answer because he heard it from me yesterday only. What does detachment means for a devotee? It is all pure Kanishta tendencies, how we misunderstand things. What does detachment means? What do you agree? What you mean is different thing, but what we practice, would you agree? When we kind of understand, or what we understand the word of detachment in general is, and our actions and our practice, we apply detachment as something like insensitivity, apathy, lack of concern for maybe for the things, or for the Vaishnavas, things means, let's say, a laptop. I'm a sadhu. What do I care? Gir gaya. I am sadhu. Anyways, it's not mine. Who cares? I'm a sadhu. No, this happens. Why we have to make so much policies in ashram? If you break an item for the next so many years, you're not going to get it. Because I am detached now. I have nothing. Nothing belongs to me. So gir gaya. Why do we write down in care of so and so Prabhu and Das and Dasi? And you have been given in care means this is a property under your care. How responsible you have to be taking care of it. Detachment does not mean insensitivity, apathy, or irresponsible behavior. Detachment means, in fact, more responsibility. Why? Because now, when you say detachment, you mean you are attached to Krishna. So this is in care, which means you have to take care of it. You cannot say, no, I'm a sadhu, so chala gaya jo jahan jana hai. Mujhe kya karna hai? Mobile, who cares for it? Dhoti, who cares for it? No, this is things belong to you, which is given to you under your care. Not even a coupon belongs to you. It is all in care of you. So for every single thing that is with us, we have to be extremely responsible. Services that we do. We cannot say, I'm a sadhu, so who cares? Fund comes or not come. I'm a sadhu, who cares? Temple is there or not there. I'm a sadhu, I'm a sadhu. We'll not say like this when time comes for prasadam. If 3 times khichdi is given, then you'll say, Arey, khichdi khilaoge. That time sadhutva goes away. So no, this is so similarly, this subject matter of, how do we see? I often say, I've been at least saying in forum all of you here, at the end of the day, brahmacharis, they are the residents. Like Srila Prabhupada said, devotee said, Prabhupada, this is not my service. Prabhupada said, what do you mean not service? You live in the temple, this is your service. Taking care of every aspect of temple is your service. You cannot say this is not my service. Tap खुला है तो मैं क्या करूँ? मेरी सेवा नहीं हो तो किसी और की सेवा है. So you're living in the temple, everything is your service. We have to see that, we have to understand this is my house. This is my place. We cannot say, no, मुझे क्या करना है तो कोई और करेगा करके. No, it doesn't work like this. This is not detachment. This is apathy. This is irresponsible behavior like this. And on top of it, we keep reading, keep hearing, and all that. Nothing makes sense. So that's the point here. And same thing here. We see devotee doing something wrong. We don't have to necessarily become judgmental about him. Rather, we have to have a sense of concern for him. We should bring immediately that action, what we saw the devotee performing, without bringing our judgments, without bringing our envy for that devotee. Bring it to the notification of the senior mentor. Tell him this is what is happening, Prabhu. Please look into the life, and you manage your relationship in the what Rupa Goswami says, like this. Okay, text number 26. That's what's over. The Lord replied, "O Brahmanas, know that the punishment you inflicted on them was originally ordained by me. And therefore they'll fall to a birth in a demonic family. But they will be firmly united with me in thought through mental concentration intensified by anger. And they will return to my presence shortly." Extremely important purport. It's a subject in itself. How a jiva, or does a jiva fell? Or does a jiva fall from Vaikuntha? That's the subject matter of this purport. Most debated purport. So I'll just leave it for your personal reading. I'll not get into the subject matter. Does the jiva fall or not like this? Text number is 27. So, anyways, 26 question said, Lord replied to the Brahmanas, and he said, well, the punishment that is inflicted on them was ordained by me. In other words, without Lord's permission, nothing can happen. Everything is happening with that. And how Lord ordains? What is the philosophical understanding? How does Lord ordains? Lord is saying, I ordained it. Without my permission, you couldn't have given a curse. I only ordained it. Just like in the second canto, Brahma offers a beautiful prayer. The Lord said, Brahma, I only inspired. I only approved of that. How does Lord ordains? What does it mean? Upadarashta Anumanta Cha Bharta Bhokta Mahish. Paramatma Re. Kitna Bhagavad Gita hai re. Well, Paramatma. Therefore, Lord is saying, unless it is ordered by me, It just can. So the viewpoint or the understanding of a Vaishnava is, I mean, this is the will of the Lord. Therefore, if somebody finds faults with a Vaishnava, he doesn't become upset or envious with the person who's finding faults. Because his ability to find a fault, which means that has been approved by the Lord, maybe Lord want me to reflect on something. Yesterday I was making a point how to deal with criticism. Ritesh Prabhu will say, how to deal with criticism. You heard it yesterday. Oh, criticism, no. Criticism, dealing with criticism. The 3 points. Acronym. ICS. Improve, careful, and shelter. If you think there is an iota of truth, then try to improve, not try to prove yourself. Again, how do we know we are on the ego platform? Anyone tells you anything, suddenly you take a defense. Hey, what is this? No, not like this. I didn't like this. Prabhu, you don't understand me. Prabhu, it was like this, it was like that, it was like this. So this is somebody wants to prove. Now, why would, if you want to go to more psychological analysis of it, now why would somebody wants to always prove himself? The only situation where somebody wants to prove himself is when he does not has any self-worth in his own eyes. He thinks or she thinks, I'm totally useless. Therefore, I need to create an image for myself. Such an individual is always competing to create an image. And such an individual will always be in the mood of showing off. Will think, oh, I need to be somebody, I need to be somebody. He thinks whatever I'm doing is not worthy of anything. So when somebody lacks a sense of self-worth, that a person would always try to prove himself, not improve. Like for Arjuna, we make a point in Arjuna's second chapter, surrendering to Krishna. I always make this point. How can Arjuna submit to Krishna, who he always treated as a friend, and tell him, this is weakness of my heart? It was not Krishna identified, it was Arjuna identified. In our case, even if our senior identifies, then we also prove. You are wrong, Prabhu. You don't understand me. I'll tell you how good I am. You misunderstood me. In case of Arjuna, he is confessing his problem because he didn't have any issue with his self, but he knew what was his capability. And to us human, everyone can make a mistake. What a big deal about it. All right, Ji, I have made a mistake. I acknowledge. Please help me. Only a person who does not have a sense of self-worth or who does not have a sense of his own identity would always try to prove himself. Will never make an attempt to improve. I for improve, C for careful. For example, if there is no iota of truth in the feedback or criticism, then how do we deal with it? We become careful. We learn from it. I often tell people, those who get a little upset by somebody made some statement, I say, okay, all right. My little life's experience teaches me that somebody misbehaves or speaks harshly, etc. That gives me an opportunity to understand how not to behave with others. Because it hurts me. Then, of course, if I'm going to behave in the same manner, it's going to hurt others. And we should not. So we become careful. And I was giving an example of His Holiness Swarup Maharaj. He was chanting in the morning hours, and suddenly a new fellow came who had been just coming for the last 2-3 days. After His Holiness Swarup Maharaj finished his chanting, he went to Maharaj and said, Swamiji, you are not chanting correctly. Your chanting was not right. I mean, it's really hurting, huh? When you finish your 16 notes and somebody comes and tells you, looks like you're missing Hare Hare. And what? 16 wala khatam karne ke baad kar raha hai. It hurts a lot. And that would somebody say, okay. And this is what Maharaj writes in the opening of his book, which he wrote on art of chanting, on the subject of art of chanting. And he carefully began to consider his inputs, and that made him to write about the mistakes that an individual does in chanting. So that led to, so that's what. And the third is shelter, which means at the end of the day, what I'm receiving is my own karma. Why do I have to blame the instrument? How many of you will agree or acknowledge that at least some point of time in this life, I have spoken selfishly or I have acted very selfishly with others, and I have spoken also at times harshly with others? At least one point of time in our life, please raise your hand. So, based on the principle of karma, do you deserve karma now or not? Raise your hand if you think you deserve it. Now, do you think you should complain on it? Yes or no? How many think I have no right to complain now? Raise your hand. Hare Krishna. You understood now. All right. Okay, let's move forward. I'll just summarize the whole chapter now. Okay, where were we? Number 26. So please read that. Did the jiva fell from the sky Vaikuntha or not? Text number 27. The sages left. The question comes, oh, Brahmavacha. Brahmaji says, Atate manayo drishtva nayanananda bhajanam vaikuntam tat adhishtanam vikuntam cha swayam prabham. Lord Brahma said, after seeing the Lord of Vaikuntha, the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the self-eliminated Vaikuntha planet, sages left that transcendental abode. Are param drishtwana nivartante. Tadhama paramam mama. Now, there are so many verses in Bhagavad Gita. Krishna says, one who attains to my abode never returns. And they returned. Who is right, who is wrong? Either Krishna is speaking a lie or there is something wrong here. So this, let's take a look at the puppet. Prabhupada writes in the last few lines. Lord Krishna says that once one goes to the Vaikuntha planet, he never returns. The inhabitants of Vaikuntha never return to the material world. But the incident of Jaya and Vijay was a different case. They came to the material world for some time and then they returned to Vaikuntha. Okay, no, Prabhupada doesn't talk about four sages here also. He's talking about Jaya and Vijay. Four sages, because of their Vaishnava aparadh, they could not stay there actually. Text number 20. The sages circumambulated the Supreme Lord, offered their obeisance to return. Extremely delighted in learning of the divine opulences of the Vaishnava. Text number 29. Bhagavan gavaha yatama vaishnamastusam brahma tejaha samarthapi amtam nich matam tume. The Lord then said to his attendants, Jai and Vijay, depart this place, but fear not. All glory is unto you. Though I am capable of nullifying the Brahmana's curse, I would not do so. On the contrary, it has my approval. Prabhupada writes, this whole incident was designed by the Lord for the sake of his pastimes in the material world. A devotee once accepted by the Lord, the last line, very faith-giving. A devotee once accepted by the Lord can never fall down. That is the conclusion of this incident. Now, text number 30 onward comes the real reason for the curse, which are just few verses before we conclude this first volume of the third canto. Let's take a look at it. Text number 30. Eta pureva nirdishtam ramaya krudhaya yadha puravarita dwari vishanti maikuparati ramaya, which means Captain Lakshmi krudhaya, you made Lakshmi angry when she had come to the doors. The departure of Vaikuntha was foretold by Lakshmi. She was very angry because when she left my abode and returned, you stopped at the gate while I was sleeping. So what happened? Vishnu writes, Lord Vishnu was taking rest. And Goddess Lakshmi was there, only she went out and then she came back there and said, Swami so rahe, baad mein aiyega. And Lakshmi thinking, who the hell are you? I am the Swamini. you know, you are just a doorkeeper. How dare you stop me? And then she became angry. That's what Vishnu is saying. And then she became angry. Your actions foretold or behavior gives an indication. Tumhara ticket katne wala hai. Like that. Text number 31. Lord assured the two Vaikuntha inhabitants, Jai and Vijay, by practicing the mystic yoga system in anger, you will be cleansed of the sin of disobeying the Brahmanas. And within a very short time, return to me. Prabhupada Bhakti Yoga in 12 Rasas. Text number 32. After this began the door of Vaikuntha, the Lord returned to his abode, where there are many celestial airplanes, all surpassing wealth and splendors. It is clear from this verse that all the incidents took place at the entrance of Vaikuntha Loka. In other words, the sages are not actually within Vaikuntha Loka, but were at the gate. It could be asked, how could they return to the material world if they entered Vaikuntha Loka? Prabhupada said, but actually they never entered. Therefore they returned. There are many similar incidents where great yogis and Brahmanas got into the yoga practice have gone from this material to Vaikuntha, but they were not meant to stay. They came back. Text number 33. But those two gatekeepers, the best of demigods, their beauty and the luster diminished by the curse of the Brahmanas. Became morose. Fell from Vaikuntha, the board of them. Why are devotees morose? Please read. Those two gatekeepers, the best of the demigods, their beauty and luster diminished by the curse of the Brahman. The auspiciousness, yes, we get deprived of auspiciousness when we make others angry. And if somebody, curses us, curse not like how folk mark us, but in our dealings also, when we become angry with certain behavior, we also say, sometimes the mind says, so we should be careful not to act in such a way that, we attract, we are here to attract mercy or curses. We are here to attract mercy. So then we should have that much sensitivity and understanding how to attract mercy. And just like His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj shares an incident from New Vrindavan. So there is a glory of Vaishnava Dhuli, right? There's a glories of taking a dust off Vaishnava's feet. Now, when it is said the dust of the Vaishnava's feet is very glorious and one should put on his head, it does not mean you become so passionate taking the dust that you fracture the leg of a Vaishnava. Yes or no? So I was saying, this particular Vaishnava wanted to touch the feet and take a dust, and the other Vaishnava was not agreeing to it. And they both began to fight. And finally, the first Vaishnava who wanted to take the dust of the second devotee, he caught hold of his feet and he toppled him. And that fellow rolled and crashed and broke his feet. And when he couldn't get up, this Vaishnava went peacefully and scratched the dust and said, "Ha, mujhe dust mil gayi." Is this the dust? No. For this fellow, he was thinking, मैंने वैष्णव का डस्ट लिया है, कितना महान हूं मैं, मुझे वैष्णव की कृपा मिली है. By injuring that Vaishnava, what mercy would you get? So I mean, imagine what understanding of scripture this fellow would have. Similarly, by our actions saying that I want to please, I want to please, I want to please, but you continue to displease, then you should stop and keep quiet. You should stop and keep quiet. Don't keep saying, I want to please, I want to please, I want to please, and you continue to display the same behavior as you're trying to topple the other Vaishnava, fracture his bones, and scratch the dust from his feet and say, I got Vaishnava dust. How great I'm a Vaishnava. I'm a humble servant of yours. After fracturing the feet, then you hold the feet and say, Prabhu, how can I serve you now? Should I massage your feet? This is nonsense. So we should be careful in our eagerness to serve. We should be sensitive enough. Is it service or is it disservice? Are we pleasing or displeasing? Therefore, the Jai Vijay became morose. Then as Jai Vijay fell from the large abode, a great roar of disappointment rose from all the demigods who were sitting in the splendid airplanes. Demigods thinking, Prabhu, आपको तो लीला करनी है, भुगत तो हमें पड़ेगा भी. Therefore they screamed, because now they're coming here. They're going to torture who? Us. Now they're going to receive that trouble because karma acts for them also. So that's the reason. They roared, oh no, they have come now. That's going to cause all the trouble. Lord Brahma continued. Those two principal doorkeepers of Prasthana God have now entered the womb of Diti, the powerful semen of Kashyamuni having covered them. The conditions of conception. Maybe we can read this properly. It's a great science here. We conclude. It is a clear proof of how a living entity comes originally from the Vaikuntha Loka, is encaged in material elements. The living entity takes shelter within the semen of a father, which is injected within the womb of a mother. With the help of the mother's emulsified ovum, the living entity grows a particular type of a body. In this connection, it is to be remembered that the mind of Kashyapuni was not in order when he conceived the two sons, Hiranyaksha and Kashyapa. Therefore, the semen is discharged was simultaneously extremely powerful and mixed with the quality of anger. It is to be concluded that while conceiving a child, one's mind must be very sober and devotional. For this purpose, the Garbhadhan Samskara is recommended in the Vedic scriptures. If the mind of the father is not sober, the semen discharge will not be very good. Thus, the living entity wrapped in the matter produced from the father and mother will be demoniac like Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu. The conditions of conceptions are to be carefully studied. This is a very great science. And no scientist can give a comment on this. That, how the mind or the consciousness at the time of conception affects the quality of the seed. Just like the scientists don't have any understanding how the conscious of the person who's cooking the food affects those who consume that food. Because that energy goes into the food that you're cooking. Like that is described. It's a great science. It's a subtle science which of modern science have no access to it as of now. It is a promise of these twin asuras that has disturbed you, for it has minimized your power. Brahmaji speaking to Devtas, there's no remedy within my power. This is what is going to happen. You can't do anything about it. However, for it is the Lord Himself who desired to do all this. Last paragraph. Brahma showed them because the situation created by the darkness for which they were disturbed was the desire of the Supreme Lord. He wanted to show that even though these two attendants were coming in the forms of demons, they were very powerful, greater than demigods who could not control them. No one can surpass the actual Supreme Lord. The demigods were also advised not to try to counteract this incident because it was ordered by the Lord. Similarly, anyone who is ordered by the Lord to perform some action in the material world, especially preaching His glories, cannot be counteracted by anyone. The will of the Lord is executed under all circumstances. It's such an important verse. Some of the verses in this chapter are so important to be discussed. Quickly, can anyone think of what does it mean? Brahmaji is telling Devatas, accept it. You cannot counteract. You cannot fight with these two sons of Diti. It's just beyond you. What does it mean? Let me give one application. Maybe, it could be a case that some of you came together at one point of time in Bhakti. You started chanting together, maybe you joined ashram together, Grastha, Brahmachari ashram, whatnot. But after 10 years, one of the devotee becomes very powerful in his services. Maybe he becomes a manager, maybe he becomes a leader, maybe he becomes a great preacher. And imagine you are nowhere in that sense of capacity. You're still doing some simple services. How many of you say, it's gone a little bit pinch? Yeah, मेरा क्या हुआ? देखो, प्रभु कितनी बड़ी बड़ी क्लासेस देते हैं, कितनी बड़ी बड़ी सेवाएं मिलती हैं उनको. गुरुदेव हमेशा उनको ही बुलाते हैं, हमें बुलाते नहीं. I'm still doing the simple service. It's gonna pinch. So the point is, everything happens by the will of the Lord, except even the individual's capacity to render big services is nothing but an iota of Lord's opulence. If Lord had chosen that individual to exhibit that opulence, why should we be envious? Rather, the consciousness of a Vaishnava is to accept that glory, to see in that glory of that Vaishnava the opulence of the Lord which is getting manifested. And our envy towards that Vaishnava is actually an inherent envy towards the Lord. Therefore, in Vaishnava community, there is no concept of envy. Envy of whom? Because anything which is done, Prabhupada is saying here, similarly, anyone is ordered by the Lord to perform some action in this world, especially preaching His glories, cannot be counteracted by anyone. If somebody becomes a YouTube star or an Instagram star, whatnot, very famous, Haribol, all glories, wonderful. It's an opulence of the Lord which is manifesting. Don't sit and look at him and complain. मेरे संग क्यों नहीं? Why not me? There's no point. There's no point. And it takes a while for us to understand. That's okay. It takes a while because we have come from a very competitive world of comparison and competition. But everything happens by the will of the Lord. And so interestingly, although we are disturbed, we are envious of others. And when we have to give a class, we'll say, so please understand, everything happens by the will of the Lord. It's very interesting. Speaking is easy, but applying is difficult. Text number 37, concluding this chapter. My dear sons, the Lord is the control of the three modes of nature, responsible for the creation, preservation, and dissolution of the universe. His wonderful creative power, Yoga Maya, cannot be easily understood even by the masters of yoga. That most ancient person, the person of God, will unknown, come to our rescue. What purpose can we serve on his behalf by deliberating on the subject? Wow. So let's not waste our time talking about what these two fellows does, because none of us can do anything about it. Chant Hare Krishna and be happy. What's the point of talking about it? Therefore, Bhakti Siddhanta Sai Thakur. I'm just drawing parallels here. Similarly, Bhakti Siddhanta Thakur told Abhay Charan Dev what change of political party would do. Political party is always changing. You're talking about when our country gets independence, then you'll go and talk about how does it matter? What has to happen? The activities of the mental world will act according to its own laws. Don't meddle with it. Don't worry about it. You focus on rendering service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, it is said, Ya Nisha Sarva Bhutana Tasyam Jagrati Samyati. The activities of devotees and non-devotees are two different things. Do not try to get involved with the material life too much, with the material affairs too much. What is happening with the economy, what is happening with the world security, food security, etc., that is going to happen. Do not waste your time and effort with that. Anyone says, oh, tomorrow the meteor is going to come and strike Earth and collapse. It's just useless conversation. It doesn't matter. That's why I'm saying, what purpose can we serve on his behalf? If the Lord wants that to end tomorrow, it will end. If it is not the time, it's not going to happen. Why should devotees? So, like this, what purpose can we serve on his behalf by deliberating on the subject? Prabhupada gives a very, very beautiful purport. These are all five-star purports, huh? Sometimes we'll discuss only five-star purports of Bhagavatam in the future once we complete the whole study. Let me just read the purport and then we'll pause. When sometimes is arranged by the Supreme Lord, when something is arranged by the Lord, one should not be disturbed by it, even if it appears to be reverse according to one's calculation. For example, sometimes we see that a powerful preacher is killed, or sometimes is put in difficulty, just as Haridas Thakur was. There was a great devotee who came into the material world to execute the will of the Lord by preaching the Lord's stories. But Haridas was punished at the hands of the Kaji by being beaten and thrown into marketplace. Similarly, Lord Jesus and Prahlad Maharaj was put into so much tribulations. The Pandavas were direct friends, and they went through so much tribulation. Seeing all this reverse affect devotees, seeing all these reverses affect devotees, one should not be disturbed. One should simply understand that in these matters there must be some plan of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Look at the word plan in the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. There Prabhupada writes about, I believe, the 13th chapter, when Pandavas goes to meet Bhishma Pitama, and Bhishma Pitama is speaking, the departure of Bhishma chapter. Prabhupada writes a very beautiful thing about, because Bhishma Pitama speaks also that is the will of the Lord. So there Prabhupada writes beautiful thing. How do we see things in a proper understanding context? How it is the will of the Lord? There must be some plan. We may or may not understand. The Bhagavatam's conclusion is that a devotee is never disturbed by such reverses. He accepts even reverse conditions as the grace of the Lord. One who continues, Tattenukampa, one who continues to serve the Lord even in reverse conditions is assured that he'll go back to Godhead. Lord Brahma assured the demigod that there was no use in talking about how the disturbing situation of darkness was taking place, since the actual fact was that it was ordered by the Supreme Lord. Brahma knew this because he was a great devotee, and it was thus possible for him to understand the plan of the Lord. So, what's the most achintya thing? That is, the most inconceivable thing is to understand what Lord is thinking. The most impossible thing or difficult thing is to understand what Lord is thinking. Now, far greater than that difficult or inconceivable is to understand what Vaishnava is thinking. Because unless Vaishnava understand the plan of the Lord, how can he serve the Lord? Isn't it? Unless you understand as a servant, unless you understand the mood of the master, can you serve? You cannot serve. So therefore, it is said to understand the mind of the Vaishnava is very, very difficult. We should therefore not be judgmental. Perform our activities. If we see something grossly wrong, bring it to the notice of the seniors and chant Hare Krishna. Be happy, move forward. It's the plan of the Lord for every one of us. And let Lord wish prevail ultimately. So that's the subject matter. We conclude the first volume of third canto, part 1. 17th and 18th chapter will talk about now the birth of Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu, the fight with Lord Varadev. These are two short chapters, 17 and 18. And then the conversation begins again within by Vidurji and Maitreya, where Vidurji would now ask about Swayambhuva Manu. Because Swayambhuva Manu and Shatrupa were first men and women. Then he would ask about their dynasty or lineage. And from there, the discussion will come upon. There were two sons of Swayambhuva Manu and three daughters, Priyavat or Tanapat, and our क्या नाम है Akuti, Pasuti, and Devhuti. And Devhuti was the youngest, but the discussion of Devhuti is taken first. Why? Because Kapaladev appeared in the dynasty. Kapildev appeared to Devhuti. And then the rest of the discussion will begin with about Kapildev's teachings. Very, very beautiful section. Like this. That will be the rest of the third canto. Well, it's a big canto. Not few chapters, many chapters. That we'll see that next week onwards. Hare Krishna. Sometimes I feel this one, we should have every morning this review class. एक बार 12 घंटे खत्म कर दो. But possible नहीं है because we have to also have verse-wise classes now. ये करके so fine. Jagadaru Srila Prabhupada ki, Srimad Bhagavatam ki. Hare Krishna. Thank you all for your kind attention. It's quite late, so we'll not be able to take any questions now. I was supposed to end by 8:45. Everyone has to leave over here, particularly. So thank you once again. Hare Krishna.